Tommy Yarrish back in Indianapolis here at the NFL Combine, joined now by Cowboys offensive line coach Conor Riley. Coach, thanks so much for making some time. To start, when we first spoke to you guys, when coordinators and coaches were available, I thought Clayton Adams made a good point that you and him have been close, but as close as you can be without working together. Now you two get the chance to work together. It's been a couple of weeks. What's that process been like working with a guy you've been familiar with?
It's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure. You know, he's not only a tremendous football coach, but also just a tremendous guy to be around. And that's the one thing that's really consistent with his staff is there are some great ball coaches, but even better men.
You know, the interesting part with you and Junior Adams on the offensive side, you're coming from the college level, and that is a jump from college to professional, just like it is for these players that we're seeing here at the Combine. From your perspective, these first few weeks in NFL ball compared to college, what's that transition been like so far?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, you know, as far as some of the evaluation responsibilities, when you're looking at some of the terminology and the differences and some of the protections that we're just diving into right now. So there are some differences, you know, and I'll still continue to say football is football, but at the highest level, there's a noticeable difference. And
speaking of that difference, I know you haven't gotten a chance to coach any of the guys in your room just yet, but just watching maybe some of their games on film from the past and you compare to what you saw at Kansas State over the years, what are some of the differences that you see from the college game to the professional level, and how do you feel like you can kind of bring the best of both worlds to Dallas?
Well, the first thing that you're going to notice is defensive personnel, and you're going to sit there and say, okay, maybe, you know, in the college game, 1 week they got that guy that you really got to be conscious of. Well, in the NFL, everybody's got that guy, and a lot of times they have multiple guys like that. So when you look at the differences between the speed and the physicality of the game, there's a significant difference. And obviously you're going to lean on the past experiences of the college game and having some of the relationships with the guys within that unit already to really kind of get that thing moving in the right direction and get moving forward with it all.
You mentioned relationships. That's obviously a huge part in the collegiate landscape. You know, as you approach this Combine, I think from you and Junior's perspective, it's interesting because you have not just coached a lot of these guys, but you've played against some of them too. What does that added perspective do for a coaching staff that's still relatively new and trying to get to know each other? And how have you seen that help here in the early going?
Well, I'm actually going to add one, whether you coach the guys, whether you competed against them, or maybe even you recruited them and didn't get them. So you do have unique insight into their upbringing. You have a little bit of unique insight maybe to the long game of just not, you know, the tape that you're watching, that if you do have an existing relationship with a said player, I think that just provides more information to get to our department so we can get a great evaluation on these young people.
Recruiting obviously is something that's huge for the college landscape. I think it's interesting when you look at that, your job is to recruit guys to come and play for your program. When you go to the Combine now, it's kind of inverse where these players are trying to sell themselves into your scheme and it's kind of vice versa. Are there tie-ins that you've noticed from recruiting players to sitting down in these interviews and having guys, you know, try to help convince you that they're the right man for your scheme?
Yeah, it is interesting because there's obvious similarities relative to the evaluation and not only to what kind of football player they are, but what is the makeup of their character? How much do they love to compete? A lot of those are very similar to the college game. Obviously, the biggest difference is in the college game, they're making the decision, and in the professional game, we're the ones making the decision.
Last one here for you. I know it's still early on in the process, but as you've seen, it's your first time as an NFL guy at this event. As you've seen Brian Schottenheimer approach this as a first-time NFL head coach, what have you noticed about him and how he's commanding the room and leading this process at the Combine?
The thing that you notice is the leadership skills that he has, and he is not only a tremendous ball coach, but just the person that he is. He's always giving tidbits of advice, how you can improve yourself. He's giving feedback to you that is so greatly appreciated, and how he's leading this group right now from a coach's standpoint. And obviously we haven't seen anyone on the grass quite yet, but his reputation precedes him. And I just can't wait to get out on the grass with him, but it has just been a phenomenal experience, and I really consider myself fortunate in making this jump to have a leader like Shotty in charge.
Cowboys offensive line coach Conor Riley. Conor, thanks so much for the time.
Thank you very much.